The verbal aspect is a grammatical category, separate but interrelated with the category of tense. In this section of the lecture, we will discuss how English aspects work. Aspect is a grammatical category that allows us to talk about the internal structure of an action or an event, while tense tells us if the action is presented as past, present, or future. Aspect tells us whether the action is presented as being in progress, completed, neither of those, or kind of both at the same time. For example, the progressive aspect allows us to describe an action as being in progress, in the middle of its development, ongoing at a particular point in time, whether that point is present, past, or future. The perfect aspect is used when we want to indicate a prior action. Prior does not necessarily mean past. It just means before some point in time. Before a point in time in the past, before a point in time in the present, or before a point in time in the future. When we combine the perfect and progressive aspects, we can describe actions that begin prior to a particular point in time, but continue happening at that time and are not yet finished. It's a little hard to wrap your mind around it if you're thinking of it in the abstract, but we will look at a few examples in a minute or two, and you will see how it works and how you use it without even thinking about it. Sometimes, however, we do not need to indicate that an action is ongoing or prior to something else. We just treat the action as a whole contained event. In this case, we use neither the progressive aspect nor the perfect one, and we call this type of aspect simple. Aspects in English are discontinuous. This means that all of them, except for the simple aspect, require a specific auxiliary and a suffix attached to the stem of the main verb. So let's look at the simple aspect first. This aspect is formed by adding the suffix s to the third person singular verb in the present tense, or the suffix ed to the verb in the past tense for all persons and numbers. Irregular verbs have their own idiosyncratic forms that we memorize as children from frequent repetition. So we say, Sheila likes dogs, and I prefer cats. We typically do not have any auxiliaries in the affirmative sentence in the simple aspect. But if we want to make a negative sentence or a question, we insert the auxiliary do inflected for the relevant tense. So we say, I had a dog once, but I didn't like it. The perfect aspect is formed by the auxiliary have, which is inflected either for present tense or for the past tense, and the perfect participle of the main verb. All regular verbs make their perfect participles by adding the suffix ed, just like they do in the past tense. But historically, the suffix was en, which is still retained in participles like spoken, broken, gotten, driven, or gone. The examples of the perfect aspect would be, Zoe has adopted a new cat. She had taken her as a foster before adopting her. The progressive aspect requires the auxiliary be inflected for the relevant tense, person, and number, and the ing suffix on the main verb. The examples of progressive aspect can be observed in sentences such as, Audrey is walking the dog right now. She was walking her dog yesterday when she saw a raccoon. You will have noticed by now that the auxiliary have is associated with a perfect aspect and the auxiliary be with a progressive aspect. So we need them both when we form the perfect progressive. We start with the auxiliary have. You will remember that to form the perfect aspect, it needs to be followed by the perfect participle of the next verb. But our next verb here is going to be the auxiliary be. What is the perfect participle form of be? Correct, been. So our first two auxiliaries are going to be have been. Then, to form the progressive aspect, we need the auxiliary be, which we already have in the form been, and the progressive participle of the main verb, which has the suffix ing. So, here is a sentence for you. Yadira has been thinking about adopting a cat. This is an example of a sentence in perfect progressive. Here is a table of all possible tense aspect combinations in English in the active voice. In this table, you will see tenses in the first vertical column, present, past, and future. Even though, as you will recall, we do not have a morphological future in English. In the top row, you have the named aspects: simple, perfect, progressive, and perfect progressive. At the intersection of each vertical column and each horizontal row, you will see examples of sentences containing the verb in the specified tense and aspect. Present simple: Fluffy sleeps all day on the couch. Present perfect: Fluffy has slept on this couch since she was a kitten. Present progressive: Fluffy is sleeping on the couch right now. Present perfect progressive: Fluffy has been sleeping on the couch for the past 10 hours. Past simple: Fluffy slept on the couch yesterday. Past perfect: Fluffy had slept on a different couch before we adopted her. Past progressive: Fluffy was sleeping on the couch yesterday when she heard us opening the food can. Past perfect progressive: Fluffy had been sleeping quite peacefully until she heard the can opener. Future simple: Fluffy will sleep on the couch again tomorrow. Future perfect: Fluffy will have slept on the couch consistently for 5 years by the end of September. Future progressive: If you come by at 11 tomorrow, Fluffy will be sleeping on the couch. Future perfect progressive: Fluffy will have been sleeping on the same spot for 6 hours if you drop in at 11. As you can see, some of these sentences sound quite contrived and not likely to occur in everyday speech or writing. They're all technically possible, and they all occur in natural discourse once in a while. But some of them are a lot more frequent than others, and we will discuss their meaning and usage in the next section of the lecture.